Welcome to the St. Cloud HRA's online briefing to include the following programs: Bring It Home, ACT, Bridges, Community, and HUD COC Rental Assistance Programs. What is this assistance program? Rental assistance programs are designed to make rental housing affordable. Participants in this program pay a minimum of 30% of their household's income for rent to the owner or manager of their rental unit. The HRA pays the remaining portion of rent to the property owner or manager. The program rules are outlined in the Statement of Family Obligations. Every adult in the household will be required to sign a copy of the Statement of Family Obligations. Your signature indicates you understand the program rules and your responsibilities as a participant in this program. It is important to give true and complete information. You are certifying the information given to the HRA, including household composition, income, assets, and expenses, is complete and accurate. You are required to report changes in your household size. You are certifying only the people listed on your application will live or stay in your rental unit. You are required to notify the HRA in writing within 10 days if anyone moves in or out of your rental unit. This can be reported through your online portal. If you want to add someone to your household, their income will be added to your household's income and your rent will be recalculated. Each adult added to your household will be required to complete a criminal background check, and failure to report any changes in your household size for adding or removing a person in writing within 10 days will result in termination of your housing assistance. If you have a visitor, they can stay with you on a temporary basis. Temporary is considered to be no more than 10 days in a row and no more than a total of 30 days within a year. If anyone receives mail at your address and they are not listed in your household, the HRA will consider them an unauthorized occupant and your rental assistance will be terminated. If you are requesting an exception to this policy, you must get written approval from the HRA and your property manager for the extended stay. Your housing assistance can be terminated if you have an unreported visitor in your household for longer than 10 consecutive days or more than 30 days within a year. Reporting an increase in income and assets. You must report all household income increases using the HRA online portal and include verification of the change so that your rental portion can be redetermined. Please contact our office in writing if you are unsure if money you are receiving should be counted as income. Unreported or underreported income may result in termination of your housing assistance. If your income goes down, a family may at any time request a rent adjustment. If you are eligible for medical or child care expenses, you may report if these expenses increase. These changes may be reported through your online resident portal for the HRA. Changes must be reported and verified by the 21st of the month in order to be effective for the 1st of the next month. The HRA will recalculate your income and/or expenses and adjust your rent amount accordingly. Property management screening. The HRA must give prospective property managers or owners your current address and contact information, as well as current and previous property managers, if known to the HRA. Upon request, the HRA must also supply any factual information relating to your history as a tenant, your ability to comply with standard lease terms, and any history of drug trafficking, drug-related, or violent criminal activity. If you violate a provision of your lease and are evicted by a court-ordered judgment, the HRA will terminate your participation in the housing program. Serious and/or repeated lease violations will jeopardize your ability to participate in the housing program. You agree to allow the HRA to share information regarding your tenancy with current and/or previous property owners or managers. Examples of lease violations include, but are not limited to, damage to unit beyond normal wear and tear, failure to pay rent or other charges, drug-related or violent criminal activities, disturbing neighbors, unauthorized guests or family members. Annual recertification. Each year, everyone in the household is required to recertify their income, assets, and expenses. You will be notified through mail and email once you are due to recertify your assistants. You will be required to complete the recertification through your online resident portal and submit required forms and verifications by a determined deadline. If you are required to attend an appointment, you can reschedule the appointment if necessary. If you miss a deadline to supply requested forms and documents, you must contact the HRA prior to the noted deadline. If you miss the first deadline to complete your certification or supply requested forms and verifications, you should contact the HRA. 2 missed deadlines to return the required forms and verifications may result in termination of your eligibility to participate in the program. HRA Annual Inspections. Inspections will be scheduled by the HRA and you will receive a letter with the appointment date approximately 2 weeks prior to the inspection date. If you miss 2 appointments with the inspector, your participation in the rental assistance program will be terminated. Important: if you fail to pay utilities, maintain any appliances that are required of you by the lease, or allow a member of the household or guest to damage the unit or common grounds beyond normal wear and tear, you will be in violation of program rules. The HRA may terminate assistance for a violation of inspection standards that are not corrected within the time specified by the HRA. Absences from the unit. You are required to give the HRA notice if any family member will be absent from the unit for an extended period. An extended period is defined as any period greater than 30 calendar days. Written notice must be provided to the HRA at least 10 business days prior to the start date of the extended absence to be approved or denied by the HRA. You are required to continue to pay your portion of rent during your absence from the unit. Drug-related or violent criminal activity notice. The HRA cannot provide you with assistance if you or a member of your household has participated in drug-related, violent, or sexual criminal activity, been lawfully evicted from a rental property as a result of participating in drug-related, violent, or sexual criminal activity, been found not eligible for rental assistance by another housing authority because of drug-related, violent, or sexual criminal activity, engage in the abuse of alcohol that threatens the health and safety or right to peaceful enjoyment of the premises by other residents. Duplicate residence of assistance, ownership, or subleasing a unit. You are certifying the unit where you use your rental assistance is your only residence. You cannot sublease, assign the lease, or transfer the unit. Conflict of interest. You cannot own or have any ownership interest in the unit where you use your housing assistance. The unit cannot be owned by a parent, child, grandparent, grandchild, sister, or brother to any member of your household unless you have received prior approval by the HRA. Tenant requirements. You must supply all information needed to determine your eligibility. Cooperation includes using the online portal to complete and sign forms and providing requested information in a timely manner. Failure or refusal to provide requested information will result in termination of your housing assistance. The HRA may deny or terminate assistance if any member of your household has engaged in or threatened abusive or violent behavior toward HRA staff. Criminal and administrative action for providing false information. Providing false information or statements is punishable under state and federal law and grounds for termination of housing assistance. You could also be subject to theft and fraud charges under state and federal law. You have the right to a hearing. If at any time while you are on a housing assistance program you find your assistance is being terminated, you have the right to an informal hearing to state your case. You will be sent an explanation of the hearing process. Once your voucher or certificate is issued, your voucher or certificate has an expiration date. You must find housing and turn in leasing paperwork before the expiration date. Contact the HRA if you need an extension. If you have not used your voucher or certificate by the expiration date, you will need to reapply. Don't wait to use your voucher or certificate. If assistance funding is cut and you have not used your voucher or certificate, it will be canceled. Information about protecting your rights as you look for housing. As you look for housing, you may meet property managers or owners who do not act in line with fair housing law. Property management cannot discriminate based on race, color, creed, religion, national origin, sex, marital status, status with regard to public assistance, disability, sexual orientation, or familial status. If you think a property manager or owner has broken fair housing laws, you have the right to file a complaint. HUD's Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity, or Minnesota Department of Human Rights, St. Cloud Regional Office. Where can you use your assistance? As a participant in a housing assistance program, you will be responsible to find a rental unit. What kind of unit can you choose? You can choose any kind of rental unit: apartment, house, duplex, townhouse. The choice is up to you. What are the unit requirements? The unit you choose to receive assistance in must be a licensed or registered rental unit, pass an HRA inspection, be affordable based on other comparable rental units in the same area, and property management must be willing to work with the program. How to locate a rental unit. Use www.affordablehousing.com or other online apartment locating websites, newspapers, or local forums. You can also stay in your current rental unit as long as it meets the requirements mentioned before. You can ask any property manager if they will accept your voucher or certificate. The area the HRA covers. This HRA has jurisdiction over the St. Cloud city limits. For HUD COC, Bridges, Act, and Community, you may lease in any part of Stearns County, Benton County, Sherburne County, and Wright County. What will you pay for rent? Your rent will be based on 30% of your household's total gross income before taxes or any other deductions, including child support. For example, if you receive SSI of $1,000 per month, 30% of $1,000 equals $300 for rent per month. Rent is based on 30% of your income, but the following items also affect your rental portion: the amount of rent the property owner or manager is charging for the unit, deductions specific to your program, the utilities you are responsible for in addition to your rent, the payment standard or value of your voucher or certificate, or if your program allows you to pay above the payment standard. Payment standards and utility allowances are also located on our website at www.stcloudhra.com. If your unit is located in the city of St. Cloud or Benton County, you would use that payment standard. If your unit is located in Sherburne or Wright County, you would use that payment standard. Once you have found a unit, ask the property manager or owner what utilities you will be responsible for paying. The utilities are noted on the utility allowance schedule. There is a separate schedule for each type of unit. You must determine what utilities you have to pay for and add the appropriate utility allowance to the rent to determine if the unit will qualify for the program. In this example, a one-person household equals a one-bedroom voucher. The payment standard for this voucher is $1,000. The person finds a one-bedroom apartment where the rent is $850. He determines that the utility allowance is $58 based on the utility schedule. $850 plus $58 equals $908. 908 is less than $1,000. Therefore, the tenant pays 30% of their income to the property management for rent, and the HRA provides the difference. What if the rent is more than the payment standard? Contact your worker to determine if you are able to pay the difference per program guidelines. If your housing program allows, you will be responsible for paying your portion of the rent based on 30% of your income, plus the difference between the payment standard and the rent including utilities. In this example, a one-person household has a one-bedroom voucher. The payment standard is $1,000. The rent is $950 and the utility allowance is $58. $950 plus $58 equals $1,008. $1,008 minus $1,000 equals $8. This unit is $8 over the person's payment standard. Therefore, the tenant pays 30% of his income to the property manager plus the additional $8. Be careful. This rule does not apply to all programs, and a participant can never pay more than 40% of their adjusted income toward their rental payment on those select programs. In this example, the same person has a one-bedroom apartment that is $8 over the payment standard. The person's monthly income is $1,000. 30% of $1,000 is $300. 40% of $1,000 is $400. $300 plus the additional $8 would be $308. $308 is less than 40% of this person's monthly income. Therefore, the HRA can approve this rental unit. A few things to remember. If you find a rental unit that exceeds the payment standard, do not pay a deposit or sign a lease until you call our office to verify the amounts will work. You can rent a unit that is larger or smaller than your voucher or certificate. If you choose to rent a larger unit, you still have to go by the payment standard for your voucher size. If you choose to rent a smaller unit, you need to use the lower payment standard. Leasing papers. After you complete the briefing, we will give or send you leasing forms to complete with the property owner or manager that you are going to rent from using your voucher or certificate. Important note: the lease you sign with your new property owner or manager and submit to the HRA must have the same start date as when your rental assistance begins. For example, if your assistance will begin October 1st, the lease you turn in must also start October 1st. Leasing papers have a deadline date. In order to receive assistance, you are required to return leasing papers to the HRA office by 4 p.m. on the 15th of the month prior to the month your assistance starts. An example is, for rental assistance to start on October 1st, leasing papers must be turned in no later than 4 p.m. on September 15th. If the 15th falls on a weekend or a holiday, you have until 4 p.m. the next business day to turn leasing papers in. If you missed the deadline, paperwork received after the deadline will result in your assistance being delayed. You are responsible for returning the leasing papers to our office even if someone else, a friend or property owner or manager, says they will turn it in. It is your responsibility to get them to the HRA. Inspections must pass to receive rental assistance. The HRA must inspect and approve all units receiving assistance. The housing inspection must pass before the 1st of the month in order for assistance to begin. If the inspection has not passed, you will be responsible for the full rent. How to report a move. You are required to give the HRA at least a 30-day written notice in order to move your assistants to another rental unit. A proper 30-day notice is 1 full month plus a day. You must remain in the same jurisdiction. There is no ability to port or transfer assistants to another housing authority. You must also give your property owner or manager proper notice in accordance with your lease. Moves can be denied. The HRA may deny permission to move with continued assistance if you have violated program rules, you owe money to any HRA, you owe money to your property management agency, you have not given proper notice to move. Property owner or manager claims. The property owner or manager can withhold your security deposit if you vacate your unit with rent owed, vacate without proper notice, or leave damages to the unit or common grounds. You have completed the briefing. You need to certify that you have completed the briefing by signing the briefing certification form. This form states you understand the policies and statements in this briefing and will abide by the rules. Please return the signed form to the HRA.